Hello, I'm Don Courtney, Chairman of the West Central Council, and welcome to the Ombudsman Report. Today I have joining me an expert panel to discuss the program and our need for volunteers. I'd like to introduce Robin Baker from the
West Region.
West Region, and Lynn Penley from our district. Robin, can you tell me a little bit about what you do?
Yes, I've been with the program for 9 years now. I'm actually the West Regional Ombudsman Manager, and I cover 4 different districts encompassing 14 different counties. And I help guide, teach, and I review the work that comes out of those particular areas.
Okay. Lynn, a little bit about what our office does up in Tampa?
Sure. As you said, I'm the West Council Ombudsman Manager, and West Council covers West Central Council covers Hillsborough and Manatee counties, and that's we cover almost 400 different facilities. And part of my job, first and foremost, is as an advocate for residents who live in long-term care facilities. That's what the Ombudsman program is all about, advocating for those people. That includes people who live in nursing homes, assisted living facilities, and adult family care homes. The second thing I do is I train and support the volunteers that are out in the field doing all the hard work. I also review the work and also recruit new volunteers. As I said, since we have so many facilities in this area, we're always looking for good volunteers.
Yeah. Could you give me an idea what's an adult family care home?
An adult family care home is actually someone's home. The owner-operator has to live in the home, and they can only take care of up to, I believe, 5 residents that are not related to them. So it's a very home-like atmosphere, and probably considered more independent than
yeah, so it's not really a facility, as you'd say, as a nursing home or anything like that?
Right, right. As I said, it's someone's home, and the owner-operator lives there. So it's that home-like atmosphere that some people are looking for.
Okay. And how does somebody notify us that they want to volunteer?
Oh, they can call our toll-free number, and that will actually take you to your local office. Usually the staff will tell you how to apply. And you can also go to our website, and there's really good information on there about how to volunteer. I think there's also some videos showing what a volunteer does, and our application is on that page also. Yeah,
and what is entailed in the training portion of it once we have a volunteer?
The training, well, first they would apply, and we do an interview to make sure they understand what's entailed in the program. I usually let them know about the training right up front. The training entails actually completing online modules that actually anybody can access. It's on our public website, so that people can look at it before they even apply if they wish to. So they complete those modules. Then they also would do a 2-day classroom training, and that's usually going over documentation and the do's and don'ts of volunteering and going out into facilities. And then we also have the volunteer go out with mentors or experienced ombudsmen for trying to complete 3 assessments and 3 complaint cases, or until they feel comfortable going out on their own. And then they can, we apply them to be certified, and the state ombudsman signs off on the certification.
Yeah, what do you mean by an assessment? What's that entail?
An assessment, we are required to do at least an annual assessment at each facility that we cover. And the assessment is actually going into the facility, talking specifically to residents about their care. We also make observations about the care, the condition of the building, the staffing. Really, it's kind of an overview on that day of what the facility life is like. So we're making sure that the residents are being treated properly and receiving all the care they need. I think it's very important because some of the facilities may not get to see other advocates at any other time during the year. So we go out and do that full assessment. And the key is talking to the residents. It's their home, and are they being treated treated well and how they're treated when we're not there.
Yeah.
And our assessments are public documents, so individuals looking for long-term care facilities, they can call our office and actually get a history of that particular facility and what the assessment found.
Oh, great. And I was going to ask you, what is some of the, since you cover such a large area, what are some of the main concerns that keep cropping up?
We have tons of concerns. We cover any issues under long-term care, so we really have a top 5 that can be found in our annual report of the top 5 complaints out of assisted living facilities and nursing homes. But they range from anything to dignity and respect by the way the residents are being treated. It can range from billing issues, cold food, care issues, or it could get into your serious issues of abuse, neglect, and exploitation, which we work with those issues and we work with other agencies to help resolve those issues.
Okay. And Lynn, do we need any bilingual volunteers?
Yes, we do. We have in Hillsborough and Manatee area quite a few facilities that mainly take care of Spanish-speaking residents. So we can always use Spanish speakers. That would be a wonderful asset to volunteering in this area.
Yeah, and I see from just driving around town here in Bradenton that our area is increasing too. There's 3 that I know of that just opened that are looking for residents, and there's one over here on 64 that's still being built. Going to be a memory care unit, so we're going to need even more and more people to help us out.
Yeah.
And what are some of the main issues when we have with memory care units?
Memory care units, sometimes those can be difficult. The residents may not be able to speak up for themselves, so they may not be able to speak up for themselves and let people know what their concerns are. Also, family comes in and they don't know what's going on because the resident doesn't have a good memory for telling them what's been going on. So usually in a memory care facility, I always use my observations. You know, is there any smell, maybe from residents not being assisted to the restroom on time, or cleanliness? Sometimes, you know, you definitely want to make sure that the resident is clean and happy, you know, because those are things that can show you that, you know, maybe they're not receiving the best of care.
And just to add to that a little bit, we do also, for the family that is present in the facility a lot, seeing their loved ones, we try to interview them to see what their thoughts are about the care and quality of life in the facility.
Okay. And what are some of the other problems, not just in memory care, but all over the area? I know sometimes we probably shouldn't bring it up, but bed bugs have been an issue in some places. How do we work on something like that? What does a volunteer that's an ombudsman have to do when they get a complaint from you that involves, okay, a facility has bed bugs?
Okay. Well, just in general, anyone can call our program with a concern about a resident who lives in one of these locations.
Yeah.
That can be family, it can be the resident themselves.
Could be a friend maybe that came in to visit with them.
Visitor or staff. They can also remain anonymous if they wish, because that, you know, as long as they're letting us know that there's a concern. We go out within 7 days on a complaint case and to actually see the resident and make sure that the care is being provided. So once one of our volunteers gets a complaint and accepts it, they'll go out, they make their observations, talk to residents, talk to visitors, talk to staff. Now you were talking about bed bugs, so of course you'd go out and talk to residents and ask them, oh, have you seen any bugs or had any problems with pests or bites? You know, you can ask a direct question if you think the resident will understand it. We can also talk to staff with those same kind of questions. We can also actually look at the bedding if the resident allows us, or I might actually have the resident pull the sheet up a little bit just to show me the edges of the bed, because that's where the bed bugs like to hide. And as you know, once those get in the facility, they like to expand and go everywhere. So it's very important to get onto those right away. So the volunteer is making that observation and then letting the administration know this is the issue, this is our recommendation, you know, pest control, et cetera. And then we follow up with the administration and with the residents during a follow-up, maybe in a week or two, to make sure that they've taken care of that issue.
And make sure it's been properly reported to the Department of Health as well.
So it also has to be reported to the Department of Health besides us?
Yeah, it should be. We take care of that in the office if it's not been already reported by contacting the local Department of Health and making sure that they're aware of the issue so they can come in.
Yeah. And what happens if a facility is trying to get rid of a resident? They've given them notices, we don't want you here anymore. Do they have any rights to complain?
It depends on the type of facility that they are actually in. Nursing home residents do have the ability to appeal a discharge, and there's a lot of requirements around it. They actually are supposed to get a 30-day discharge notice on a particular form, and once that notice has been given to them, they have up to 90 days to appeal, but if they appeal within 10 days, they can actually stay in that facility until the hearing's held. So nursing home residents have the most appeal rights and discharge protection out there. When you move to assisted living facilities, they currently, per regulations, they're only required to give them a 45-day notice of discharge, and it's to be in writing, and it can be for any reason. And then when you move to adult family care homes, you also have a 30-day discharge notice in writing, the reason noted why they're being discharged.
They're similar to a nursing home then?
Those two, the adult family care homes and assisted living facilities, do not have appeal rights. So once that discharge time frame is up, if they weren't able to work with the facility or work with our program that would negotiate with the facility, they would have to leave the facility, and they don't have the right to appeal like a nursing home resident would have.
And as you said, they can contact our office. We're more than happy to help them through that process, because sometimes it may be a misunderstanding, and us as a third party can help them work things out, like a billing issue that we were talking earlier about. Maybe there's something wrong with the bill, and that's why they're being asked to leave. Maybe we can find something that others missed to get that billing issue all fixed, and they can stay in the facility. So people can call us with a concern or with a question. We first like to help them self-advocate by educating people of their discharge rights. And the right to complain. Everyone has the right to complain, and so them calling us with a complaint, they shouldn't have any retaliation for that.
Okay, but when they get this 30-day notice, do we get a copy of it?
Yes, we're actually required by law to get a copy.
Do we automatically send somebody out, or do we have to wait for somebody to say they need help?
Actually, the offices try to do their best to contact everybody that they get a discharge notice for, to actually reach out to them to make sure that they're aware about the program. The form is supposed to be accompanied by a form that requests our review of it, but sometimes that doesn't always happen. But when we do get the notice, we review it, we try to contact them to make sure that they know their rights, and we try to get involved if they would like us to.
And that's only nursing homes
yes.
are
right,
required
yeah.
to send us.
Yeah, but a person on an adult or an ALF, they're kind of out in the cold on that?
They're not as well protected.
Yes.
So it's very important, that they know their rights, and that's part of our job, is to let them know their rights when we're out there.
We can also try to help them.
Yeah,
definitely.
Like you say, if in case of a misunderstanding or something like that.
Exactly.
We can
and
go
that's
in
why we're there.
Yeah, we can go in and work with them on that. Great. And what are some of the other issues that we run into? I know food is, but we get a lot of complaints about food. I've been doing it for a few years now myself, but it's mostly just subjective, because you can't cook for 200 people and everybody's going to be happy.
Yeah.
And I think it all depends. If I'm at my home, if someone cooks for all of us and I don't like the meal, I should have an alternate. So that's facilities are required to have an alternate, just as nutritious as the main meal. So maybe hot dogs or whatever your favorite is, and also they need to have a menu for assisted living and nursing homes. So you should know in advance what your meal is. So if you don't like the meatloaf, you can talk to the cook or the owner about getting a different meal. But when I go out and people say, "Oh, it's too salty, it's not chewable," I try to ask them very specific questions about their food, and we'll talk to other residents also, because if it's a bigger issue with everyone feeling that way, there's definitely something we can do. But with the individual, I also think there's workable room most of the time to make that resident happy and to make that meal an enjoyable meal, because it's such an important part of your day.
Right.
So I don't usually give up on the meal ones. Also, some facilities, nursing homes definitely, and assisted livings, we try to make sure that they have like a resident council where residents actually get together and talk about issues. And I think a perfect go hand in hand with that is like a food committee where they talk about food and let the administration know what they want. why should they serve the meatloaf that nobody likes if the residents speak up and say, nobody likes that meatloaf, let's change it for something else.
Yeah, I was at a facility recently, and they were having liver for lunch, and probably 90% of it, the caregivers were carrying it back on the cart.
And that's a waste for the
The
facility.
people would rather forget lunch than to eat the liver. So
Exactly.
But had my father been there, he would have been all over that liver.
he probably would have had a lot of liver. And how about your area? Anything specific that stands out in different areas that you guys handle? Because you're a little bit scattered all over the map.
Yeah, I cover actually from Polk over to Pasco and down to Collier County as the regional manager. So I cover 4 district managers, including Lynn, that cover their districts.
Yeah.
But another issue that comes up quite a bit is requests for assistance or call lights being not answered. And those are issues that do tend to pop up here and there. So we try to narrow down with whatever the issue is when it's actually occurring, because it helps to understand if the call light issue is happening more at night or during the weekend, or if there's some kind of trend that we can identify to help show the facility to help work on a
Yeah, because usually at night they
resolution.
have less staff. They're
Yeah.
thinking everybody's in bed asleep, and so they don't have as many people around, but they still need their
Exactly.
call lights answered.
Yes.
Yeah, okay. Another question was, I wanted to find out, just, do we have a lot of problems with adult family care homes? A lot of issues?
Truthfully, of all of them, I think we get the least amount of calls from adult family care home. I can't definitively say that they're maybe run better, but I think it might be because they're so small and they're run like a family that people might not know about our program, and we might not be called out there as often. So probably the most recent one I had was not being able to gain access to the facility, people going to daycare or day programs during the day, so we weren't able to talk to the residents. Or it might be, pest control. It's someone's home, and their idea of pest control might be going around and squirting when they may need to call a pest control company.
Yeah. If we go to a facility because of a complaint, can the facility refuse the ombudsman entrance?
No, we actually have in statute have the right to access the facility, to access the residents and their records.
And each of these types of facilities actually should have our information, whether it be via our poster that has the residents' rights listed on there, or whether it just be our phone number listed on another type of poster. They're required to have our information, as well as the Agency for Healthcare Administration and Department of Children and Families Adult Protective Services phone numbers listed in there for the residents.
Yeah. Okay. This seems like an awful lot for a new volunteer to take in. I assume that once they do get their badge and everything, that they can still get assistance from other volunteers?
Definitely. I tell all the new volunteers, and all my volunteers, they can always call the office, call myself. That's what I'm there for. I'm there to support them with any questions they have. They don't need to memorize rules and regulations. I tell them usually to use common sense. So if something looks wrong, make a recommendation for improvement, and then if you need backup, you can talk to me. Also, we have mentors that are experienced ombudsmen, like you, Don, who mentor those trainees through their training process, so they can always contact you or one of the other mentors who are very experienced and can help them, and actually go out with them. I go out in the field with my volunteers.
Yeah. Is smoking or not smoking still a big issue in the facilities and the residents? I know in years past we've had some conflicts where the facility was trying to get the residents, not to smoke, but
Right.
they still have the right to smoke and that.
I haven't seen many complaints personally, but go ahead.
I think they have decreased over time, but I do know that with facilities that initiate a new smoking policy, that's when these were occurring, the facility is required to grandfather in residents that have been living at those facilities. So they can't turn around one day and just say, well, we've changed our policy and now you're not allowed to smoke here. The residents that have been there for a period of time are still able to smoke. It's just new residents coming in over time have to abide by that no smoking
Yeah,
policy.
I know one facility, a friend of mine is there, and she's the only one still smoking in that facility.
Yeah.
So they have
And
to
it's
make
probably-
allowances.
And it's probably a very important part of her life.
Oh, it
and,
is.
And
Yeah.
it's her home, so she should have the right to be able to smoke. Usually they have certain areas outside
Right,
for
designated
that,
areas, yeah.
designated areas, and then if you need assistance, they usually have certain times.
Yeah.
But anyone can call us with that concern, and we can educate them and the facility, and if they have a specific concern, we can go out and talk with them.
Yeah, how about smoking in the facility?
There's no smoking in any of the facilities that I know of because of the indoor non-smoking act. So even an adult family care home, I believe they cannot smoke inside. But usually there's a patio area or the front outside the front door. People usually accommodate people if they need to.
Yeah, we're a big advocate for residents' rights in this program. So we like to make sure that even if residents make decisions that might not be the most healthiest decision for them, they have that ability still to choose and do what they wish, whether if they're diabetic, eating a chocolate cake, or even though it may not be good for you, smoking a cigarette, if they would like to choose to do so.
Yeah, I remember years ago we had an issue with somebody was hiding food all over their room because the management didn't want them to eat all the sugary treats. But we have to advocate for the resident to do it, but do it in a
Definitely.
safe way.
It's still their home.
Sure.
They've chosen that just a different location to be their home.
Yeah, our biggest issue was not to get bugs all over the room because of the way she had food scattered around.
Yeah. And they get Ziploc bags. Those are amazing.
Exactly.
The only thing that should change from a point when a resident leaves their home and goes into a facility is their address. So they should still be able to do a majority of if all the things that they did in their home.
Right. How about medication? Is medication dispensing a problem?
It can be. We do get quite a few medication complaints. Some can be, I don't get my medication on time, or I've been told, they've run out, so I didn't get my pain medication yesterday or the day before. So we always advocate for the resident. The documentation, the facilities are supposed to document medications and everything. So the resident telling us that they're not getting a medication, we can look at the medication logs with their consent. We can look at the actual medication. But most importantly is the resident feeling they didn't get their med. Because if they're still in pain, they're still in pain. So yes, that is something that pops up. And sometimes it's the resident doesn't feel confident in the person who's giving them their medication. Nursing homes have registered nurses and licensed practical nurses. ALFs are not required, or assisted living are not required to have those nurses on their staff. So they might use medication technicians who have a 4-hour training program that they go into. And so that lack of confidence in their training might be part of the problem. So we always recommend more training.
Yeah. How about Spanish speaking? I've also wondered, are there prescriptions in Spanish also, or is they all in English? And you have
That's
a
a good
Spanish
question.
speaking facility.
I've never asked. I'm sure you can get your prescription in both.
Yeah, because
because
I've
they
often
are
wondered if
required.
you've got a Spanish speaking facility and there's prescriptions in English.
Oh, that's true. If
Who
you
knows
can't
what
read it, how are
The
you
ones
supposed
I
to
have
dispense
seen in
it?
the past, they were written in English versus Spanish. So.
Yeah, so we assume that the caregiver is bilingual.
Yeah, they should be able to, and they should know how to. But there's different levels of administration of medication. So with each of the type of facilities, with adult family care homes, they should need minimal assistance, like she said before, where they more or less are independent. And then you have the assisted living facility, which is kind of a step up, where they need more assistance, and there's certain criteria that they must meet to be able to live there. And then nursing homes is where you have your highest care level in those particular
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask
facilities.
you. What's an example of somebody at ALF, what they can and can't do versus a nursing home?
It's really strictly laid out in Florida Administrative Code, and it varies because ALFs do have specialty licenses available to them. So assisted living facilities can have 3 types of specialty license, where one of them is limited mental health, where they deal with 2 or more. I think this regulation might have changed, limited mental health residents in the facility. They have limited nursing services and extended congregate care, and those actually just provide more nursing services than the average standard ALF.
Okay. And That's about all the time we have today. I'd like to thank everyone on the panel for your help in explaining the importance of this program, and hope we get a lot of calls from people who want to join us in keeping in nursing homes, ALFs, and adult family care homes safe. And thanks to METV producing this program, to our viewers for watching. On behalf of my guest, I'm Don Courtney, and we'll see you next time on the Ombudsman Report.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.